Welcome to Synced on Air. I'm your host, Angelique Robb, and today I have a team from Lynch Landscapes up in Massachusetts. I have Tammy Tiongson, who's the marketing manager, and I have Josh Brown, who is the landscape designer of a particular project that we're going to go over. Welcome to the podcast, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you on. And first, I thought we would start with who is Lynch Landscapes? When you started, Tammy, I thought you would be a great one to kick us off on, you know, who is the company? What is your culture like? And then we can dive in a bit more on the project that we're going to show. So,
Sure
do you
thing,
want to kick us off?
please. So Lynch Landscape has been around since 1980. Uh, the owners were husband and wife team. So Mike and Kelly Lynch started this company um, fresh out of high school with one pickup truck and one lawnmower, and they were looking to serve the greater community of what is known as the Metro West area here, just outside of Boston.
Okay.
Since then, the company has grown quite a bit. So we've gone from one truck and one lawnmower to 110 employees on the maintenance side. On the design build side, we have 16 employees in the field. So we've grown quite a bit in the 45 plus years that Lynch Landscape has been around. But because it started as a family business, it really stays true to that idea of being a community based business where we're fortunate enough to say that we have a 96% retention rate as far as our employees are concerned, which is pretty unique, as I'm sure you well know, in the landscape industry as a whole. And a lot of that goes back to the idea that it was founded as a family business. Our values, our ethics still rely a huge part on the fact that we are very much a business that is with real people, serving real people. Our teams are so proud of the work that they do in the greater community. So that kind of really feeds into who we are and continues to grow the business as a business that has seen a lot of organic growth in the past 45 years. A fun fact about Lynch Landscape: we only started marketing officially 3 years ago.
Oh,
Prior
my
to
goodness.
aside from our teams in their lettered trucks and the Lynch Landscape logo and lawn signs. Other than that, we had never ever before advertised, and we only just started doing that a few years ago. So it's truly been an organic growth over the past 45 years.
That's fantastic. And thanks for explaining that because I think it is really important to see how far you can go organically. And then at some point, you do need to invest in marketing, make sure the brand is, you know, visible enough and you're showing off the right work that drives the right new clients to come to you as well.
Right.
Because that does make a big difference for the future. So fantastic to see the growth and hear a quick synopsis. I mean, 45 years, I think you did a great job of keeping it punchy for 45 years. Well, awesome. Well, and it sounds like it is heavily maintenance, and I noticed that on your website you actually say fine gardening, which I think differentiates maintenance as well. So, that has a different feel to it, more curated and high end. Do you have a split on how much of your work is residential versus commercial versus municipalities, or is it a challenge to say?
No, I think I would say we're probably 95% residential. Um,
Okay.
we definitely have, a decent amount of commercial maintenance accounts like, plazas, things like that, for both like general maintenance and snow plowing. And then on design build side, we're probably, I would say 98% residential. We
Okay.
probably do two projects every year or two
Yeah.
commercially.
Okay.
Or so we just don't play in that realm as much. So, um, Yeah.
And that's fine. I like to give people a feel because, on everybody's websites, really, you have all the things that you cover, and it does make a difference. So those people learning from the projects you're doing, and um, for the audience to know, we are going over a residential design and build project in this podcast as well. So it's very reflective of the type of work you do day in, day out. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Um, one of the reasons why I launched Synced is that you can have those silos of design, construction, horticulture, maintenance. How does Lynch Landscape run the teams so that you're more connected? Are there any things that stand out to you, either of you? Feel free to answer. On how you stay connected as a team.
Yeah, I mean, the way we kind of approach things, it's a divisional approach. So we have whether different like representatives for each division, from regular maintenance and lawn mowing to irrigation to tree work and arbor care to fine gardening, design build, and we're all in the same office building. So it's very easy for us to kind of go to each other's desks and work through that process, and like we see each other every day, say hi, good morning, goodbye, and it makes the experience great and easy for not only us but the customer as well. I mean, they kind of have their dedicated people, and they're not having to try to find a person to take a tree down over here or to fix my
Yes.
irrigation over there. It's kind of like I'm all in one type of a deal.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially now in the advent of AI, we are very proud to say, like, you call the office and a human is going to pick up the line every single time. And that's something that I don't think I ever predicted I would be bragging about, but that's definitely something that we're like excited to know. Like, if you message us on Instagram, you're getting somebody who's answering you back, and that's me, honestly. But the truth of the matter is, like, I think what makes Lynch so special is that it has always been about people. Like, Mike and Kelly started this as a company that was built to take care of people that, in their neighborhoods, in their community that they wanted to serve. And it remains to the day a service based on the people who are providing it and the people who are looking for said service. So that's something that I think makes being part of a huge company like Lynch, where we have a divisional approach and we have so many branches, to be funny about it, we are able to kind of keep everything deeply rooted and centrally located in that way.
Great pun there too, huh? Deeply rooted. Awesome. Well, let's dive in. I'm going to share a photo of the project that we're talking about today. Do you have a name for this project?
If you look on our portfolio on the website, it's called the Hoover Road Project.
Hoover Road. Okay.
This is a neighborhood in a town that's local to us called Needham. And Josh worked really hand in hand with the homeowners to get this project together, but I'll let him take over from here.
Awesome. Well, what was the remit? What did the clients want when they approached you first off, Josh?
Yeah, so the before pictures are significantly different. It used to just be almost like there was a small upper, like small retaining wall and patio on the upper level, and then an old sport court there, and then it just sloped off. And the house that is below it now was actually not there when we first went. It was just wooded area that got taken down, and a house got built during that same sort of time. So it was very just kind of left undone, not really much interest whatsoever in the backyard space. It felt like old and tired. And the homeowner, if you couldn't tell, they're huge golfers. They love golf. It's a big part of their life. The two homeowners and their children as well, who are older at this time too. So it was kind of like more of an adult's backyard than a kid's backyard, we'll kind of say.
Okay.
They wanted the golf experience. He wanted to, hone his golf game even more. Him and his wife also love pickleball, and one of their sons loved basketball. So really incorporating a lot of these kind of sports elements into the backyard space. It's a little unconventional, we'll say, especially in such a tight space, but they really wanted to maximize the the uses of the yard, and we really did. We really, took every, square foot of the space and, made it into something that is usable for them. There's also in the bottom left corner too, if you can see that, there's like a hitting net. So he has a launch monitor too, so he can take like full shots and swings. And there's some other photos too that I'm sure Tamara can share with you that you can kind of see some of that stuff. And then there's the outdoor kitchen patio on the lower level that kind of comes out of the basement level, which is his man cave area. So it's that direct connection to the kitchen, to the bar, to the golf. So it's really has that full feel there. And then they wanted the upper patio that comes off of the kitchen to be kind of dining space, family hangout space, kind of, just that chill environment. So we wanted to really have different spaces at all the different levels. And there's even a small patio at the end of the sport court area too, with a small like solo stove fire pit too, for just another place to kind of like hang out and enjoy the space. So
on the right side of the court, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The viewing patio.
The viewing patio.
Well,
they do.
So it sounds like the first challenge was the slope, really. So
Yeah.
so you had a pretty steep slope. You had lower than, or on the other side of the backyard, you had a newly built house instead of woods was another thing. So privacy maybe as well, or was it more just leveling and grading?
Both. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, there's a engineered retaining wall off the backside that's 5.5, 6 feet tall, I believe.
Okay. Yeah,
And
significant.
yeah, it's significant for sure to level everything out and get the grade up there. In addition to that, there's a fence on top of the wall that's that uses the wall as the stability for it too, to gain some of that extra height and screening from the neighbors as well. So kind of keeping everything in there nice and tight, and so they're not being stared at. And I was over there a few weeks ago actually to follow up with the homeowner on potentially a small addition at the front of the house, and they were talking about how they have their friends and stuff come over and they walk into the backyard and they're kind of shocked at how big the change is, because you can't really see any of it from the road, and then they walk back there and they're like, oh my gosh, look what you guys did here. So it's pretty cool to hear that coming from the homeowners.
Well, and I would imagine from my experience, like the more you put in a backyard, and this is like packed with amenities and different levels and different patios, and it makes it feel a lot bigger than before, than if you only had a patio and grass. And I imagine it there's so much to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You've packed it full of amenities.
For sure we did, and it's definitely a tight space, and it is a little bit, we'll say, unconventional, because there's with all of those spaces, with the patios and the hardscape and the sport court and stuff, drainage was a huge piece of this project. The stuff you don't see, right? So the below grade drainage systems from the stormwater management was something that we really had to dial in and make sure it's covering not only the downspouts from the house, but all the hardscape surfaces as well, and then introducing as much plant material as we could into the backyard space. So there's a lot of hidden things that you don't see in the pictures that I'm sure most people run into on projects as well.
Yeah, because I guess the sport court itself, is that permeable or not permeable?
So no, it's like a concrete. It's a concrete pad that's pitched on either direction with like the tile on top of it, like the sport court tile.
Okay.
So it's like a special substrate. So there's a certain amount of drainage for that element, as well as like the patio and the putting green hardscape.
Well, and drainage is one of those great examples of how you really have to have that great connection between design, build, and maintain for it to really work. You know, do you want to talk about, I mean, I'd imagine that set some limitations on what you could design in the drainage itself?
Yeah. I mean, in the up north, and it's obviously different everywhere, but impervious versus pervious surfaces and the amount of drainage that goes along with it is pretty big up here. I mean, it's a huge factor in design and in doing projects in yards. And a lot of the properties up here in towns, you know, all houses you have to keep all of your runoff on your property, which is like,
Okay.
especially in like new builds and projects like that. So there's a lot of like below grade dry wells that were put in. That the entire like putting green area is basically a giant dry well in itself with the amount of 3/4 stone that's in there. Plus,
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. So there's a lot below grade that happened. That was a significant portion of the project for sure, from a both a financial standpoint as well as from a design standpoint as well, for sure.
Well, and so I guess having, having that design and build team work together, through, from the start. You um, your construction team were involved from day one with this design, or how does it work internally?
Yeah, yeah. All of our construction team, all of our masonry crews and installation crews and stuff for us is everything's in house. There's only a few things we don't have currently on staff would be like a licensed plumber, a licensed electrician.
Okay.
Those are pretty much the only things we don't have. Other than that, you know, Tony, who's our construction manager, is always involved from the start and finish of projects that, especially stuff involving a lot of drainage, excavation,
Yeah.
retention, stuff like that. And so his desk is right behind mine. So we're always chatting in the mornings about
Spend a
different
lot
things.
of time
A
together.
lot of time, a lot of time. And we always, talking about the project as a whole and kind of, he sees things in a different way than some of like myself and our design team see. So that back and forth is like the benefit of that design build process that we love, and obviously we do every day. So the having that input is vital to the success of projects for sure.
Fantastic. I couldn't have written that better for you to say the benefits of design and build working together. So, we'll talk about maybe long-term maintenance as well. It's great that I think you built this. Was it last year, if I'm right? Do you
So
remember?
You wrapped.
I think we
in
wrapped.
May of last
Yeah, I
year?
think it was wrapped
Just before
summer.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, it was a Memorial Day or into early summer last year for sure.
Okay. Well, and again, it's how it looks down the road. 5 years. What do you want people to notice about it? What I guess. Well, let's talk about this. So we've talked about how you fit a lot of amenities into a small space, and it's looks like it's awkwardly shaped. Is
Yeah.
you know Can you say, Josh, what the challenges of this site and what became more of an opportunity? Because sometimes the, obviously you go, how can we fit all this in? Okay. And then maybe what you're most proud of in the design as it turned out. Is there a certain part that you're more proud of, or you know, just really pleased with how it turned out?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely a lot of challenges on this site. Setbacks, setbacks for like the sport court, for the walls, and different grade changes and things like that, where did create some of these kind of like interesting and kind of unconventional angles like in the wall there and stuff like that. A lot of that was dictated because of the sport court, right? Based on setbacks and location, there was only a few spots that we could put it, and that's where it ultimately ended up landing. And actually, during construction, the sport court, all of a sudden we found out through the company with like the tiles and stuff that they needed like an extra like 2.5 feet of space for the basketball hoop to be anchored in, and that wasn't something that was conveyed initially. So
Oh,
part of that is why that angle of the patio is kind of what it is. There was a slight design change and shift sort of on the fly with that, which is also beneficial in the design build project process because we're able to kind of do those things without too much disruption for the project.
yeah.
So that was one of the things. I think,
So you mean like the notch in the raised bed next to the patio? Is that
yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Okay.
see kind of kind of like a sharp angle over, and it kind of like abruptly ends and goes to a straight wall. It was much more of a squared off, kind of like cleaner line.
Okay.
Was that eventually, that had to change, and we made it work with the grade and stuff like that. And it's very pronounced in the overhead, like you can see here. And then some of the lower photos, more at like eye ground level, you don't feel it as much.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think from a design challenge in process perspective, like that was pretty unique. And
Yeah.
then I think most proud portion of the project is probably the connection from the lower kitchen bar area to the upper level. I just feel like even though we had to go up a decent amount of grade change from like the kitchen level down to that lower basement level, it made it feel very comfortable and inviting still there, with the seating spaces, the just the landing, the approach made it feel comfortable, and I feel like that was you can always um, run into issues with long, sections of stair and
Yep.
heavy and tall walls where it kind of can feel overwhelming sometimes and daunting. Where in this particular project, we were able to, even with the change, kind of make that transition feel soft and inviting.
And that's not something that we can really see as much. And I love that you said feel, because really, from a design and construction point of view, it works when it feels nice. And
Yeah,
that's hard to show with a photo. You have to be there.
yeah.
Um, but it is a feeling that we're always creating. And that's what makes, design and build special at what you're creating out of nothing. What did the old patio feel like?
Tired. um, it was an older patio. I'm pretty sure it was done 15, 20 years prior.
Okay.
Um, it just was tired, and like I said, there was initially a lot of like tree cover, that was making the space feel kind of very dark and uninviting.
Mm,
Well, it wasn't maintained very well either. So, you know, we talk about being good stewards of the landscape. There wasn't even a lot that we could truly just save in general because of the actual condition of the trees. So
yeah.
that was part of the project as well. Why technically initially they even kind of reached out to us because they about doing tree work initially, in the back space there because they were worried about stuff falling on the house, and then it kind of really transformed into the product that you kind of see now.
Oh wow. So they didn't intend to have a whole new backyard
Not
when
initially,
they
and
built.
the biggest, and I know I kind of that's just coming to my head right now that this even happened. So because that lower house, it's a brand new build home that used to all be trees, and that lot
Okay.
got cleared for the build of this new house, which left an awkward sort of stand of trees there. That
Uh,
as trees kind of come down, they work together as a group, and then this whole lot got cleared. So there's a bunch of like single standing ones that weren't
Spindly trees and
they
yeah.
weren't used to being standing on their own. So these homeowner, our customer, ended up having to do it by necessity, and then we got to talking, and they wanted something new and fresh, and then kind of the product evolved from there.
Wow, that is a big transition.
Yeah,
And it's funny. Well, probably you were working on this and, if you finished it last summer, so you were working on it 2 years ago, maybe. Um,
and
as
yeah, yeah, for sure. The
okay.
initial was definitely probably at least 2 years
So
ago.
no wonder you don't remember. But yeah, I mean, that's a great upsell because this looks like a pretty expensive and thorough job, but you were originally, out there to look at the trees, the spindly trees that were left after the next house developed.
Yeah,
So I think that reinforces why, you know, the fact that Lynch has all the services that are available to the client, that you could see um, the forest through the trees, should we say? you know, and you went in to do some tree work, and advise them how much more you could make of the site and then handle everything. Are you also taking care of the site maintenance wise?
Yeah, yeah. So, majority of our design build customers for like, especially like the larger projects, typically always come on for at least a degree of maintenance to start, and most of the time, full maintenance after that. As Tam likes to point out a lot of times, that they recognize based on like the service and the product through the actual project gets carried through to the maintenance side of things, and really be able to take care of and truly bring the vision forward. Like you mentioned earlier, kind of like what it looks like, 2, 5, 10 years from now, really, keeping that vision alive. So it really grows into the space.
Well, and it shows that, they're also happy with the process. They're happy with, you know, the the design and build, and recognize that you deliver a high quality service, and they see the value of keeping you involved. I think that it says a lot about your people and your processes, and how you guys operate. So kudos, to the full team there. Um, you know, just even, you know, like I said, you started with a possible tree work, and it's been 2 years of design and build on, well, a year maybe. And then how do you keep everybody involved? When you did the transition from the design and build team to the maintenance team, how do you initiate that with the maintenance team, or have they been involved during design and build at all?
Yeah, so like a new project like this, where they weren't initially a customer before the project, and now they are maintenance. So towards, we'll say, the last few weeks or month, as majority of kind of like the hardscape and elements and like that kind of finish up, and we're starting the planting process and going through that, we'll introduce one of our landscape account representatives that on the maintenance side, that will bring them onto the site, kind of show them what we've been doing, the plans, everything like that. We'll introduce them to the customer. We'll kind of do a walkthrough of the project as it's, things are being done and completed. And then the homeowner gets an introduction, and then, the maintenance rep kind of does their thing with services and gives all that over, and kind of starts those conversations while we're still on site working, so they can really, customize and tailor the maintenance plan to this project specifically. We like to bring in the landscape reps before the project's done to make sure we're covering all of our bases with, our intentions, what we want for maintenance, what we recommend, things like that, so it can really, keep things just on an even flow, so no steps get missed.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of how you transition. You get them up to speed while you're still on site building. They meet the client, they get to know your vision for the design, because and that's the other thing. The plants are going to be immature when you first plant them. So again, it's relaying all of that information. It's not just um, here's the plans, there you go. So much more to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's really it's a process. The care and the maintenance is, just important as the project, because if the maintenance and care doesn't happen, then the project can fall to disarray over a certain period of time, which we obviously don't want anything like that to happen. So
What were the clients' comments as you were nearing completion? You know, what were there things that they were surprised at, or overly? You mentioned that people coming over to the house can't believe it. What did the clients think about it?
yeah, I mean, they were thrilled. I mean, once the putting green, and this is funny because the homeowner, he once the putting green was kind of finished and we were still working on some of the other masonry elements, we'd go out and see golf balls and stuff all over the place left out. He was definitely out there practicing even before the project was even finished, so that was really cool to see. And as well, one of the cool things that we love to hear too is they made sure to tell us that, you know, the crew that we had working on there almost felt like an extension of their family. Like, you know, they would,
Oh,
you know,
Yeah.
bring them treats and like food and breakfast sandwiches and stuff like that. And they, you know, that for us is really important because, you know, Tammy mentioned earlier, like a lot of our crews and employees are here for a long time, have been here for a long time, and stay on with us. And that's, you know, that's just a sign of, you know, how important that is for us as a company, as well as, you know, the customers to see that interaction and us to hear about it too. I mean, I love to hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the team certainly loves to be fed and taken care of. You know, like it's a nice thing for everybody because who doesn't want to be appreciated and who doesn't want to then turn around and turn that appreciation into their own appreciation. So it's a really nice like circle of life kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You know?
for sure.
well, and it's leading to more work. And I can imagine that, you know, friends that come over and are wowed by what you were able to fit in this tight space, you know, and how you did it with style and how it feels, you know, is a testament to your work, your design and construction, and I think you said earlier that you're back looking at the front yard as well. So, yeah, it's it's great to see when you do good work and how it enhances everybody's lives. The crews on site, the clients. Um, what I mean, it just sounds like it's working really well. Your company is working really well. How does that enable you to create better and to, you know, I can imagine that this kind of collaboration means that Josh, you as a designer, you have confidence to maybe push the boundaries in other projects, and Tammy, you know, it elevates what you can promote with the company. Or can you give examples of how this collaboration within the company um, has helped? I mean, I guess, you know, you said earlier you haven't even had to market the business, but you know, I can imagine it gives you great content to be able to promote your work. Sorry, I'm answering for you, but
Well, that's
what?
okay. I think it's, you know, for us, it all comes back to the natural synergy of the team. Right, Josh and I have been I've been fortunate enough to work with Josh for the past 5 years now. My previous career was in hospitality, and so much of what makes a successful hospitality team is the idea that you're truly in service of other people. You're constantly looking at ways to optimize and become more efficient and more effective in your communication, in the way you're taking care of people, in the way you are optimizing any kind of feedback you're getting. And I like to think that yes, we're a landscape company, yes, we're design build, but in so many ways, we're just an extension of another kind of hospitality outreach. You know, everything that we're taking from our clients and we're doing in service of them, right? Like we're not mowing 500 plus lawns for fun, although, you know, it's enjoyable for some of the guys on the ride along mowers. It's definitely in service of how do we get better at what we're doing so that we can continue to do this service and do it well. We're constantly tweaking and recalibrating and figuring out ways how to become more effective, more efficient, more communicative with both our team members and with our clientele. And that just in turn kind of feeds the cycle back to get more business and to allow, you know, the designers like Josh a little bit more freedom, creatively, like you mentioned, to be able to kind of be bolder in their suggestions to clients in thinking like, let's think outside of the box. Let's try this instead of what you saw in this magazine. And on my end, it makes it very easy to promote us as a brand because all this is true, right? Like you can't pretend that we don't have a good working relationship. That's very apparent when our clients meet us, when they talk to us. Um, a lot of our business, like we mentioned earlier, comes from referral. So a lot of our clients will then in turn say, listen, I had a great time working with Josh and his team, and it seems like they really have, you know, good energy about them. You should talk to them. And in turn, we get fed back this cycle of, I have a friend who had a great relationship with you, great experience. I want to try this out for myself. And it just keeps on feeding the pipeline in that way. So it's a lot of taking good care of your people will help you get more business, and that is very true and continues to be true here at Lynch. So
Josh,
Yeah,
would you like to add to that?
yeah, and from the design side of things, for me being more of a senior designer,
he is
we'll
our
say,
senior designer.
um, we have an awesome team of designers. So it's grown significantly over the past few years. We're now at 4 full-time designers for the company, and being able to have these designers, and a number of them are recent graduates from undergrad programs in landscape architecture. So being able to get new and fresh perspective on landscape and design, and just keep kind of like pushing the boundaries on a lot of the stuff that we do is important, and our team is awesome. So giving it's a very collaborative process, not only like with the designers and the team we have here, but then kind of what we talked about earlier with the construction team, the project managers, and then the actual crews in the field. So that whole process and that synergy between everybody really helps us put together some pretty cool projects, and really, put forth stuff that that Tammy does an amazing job of promoting for us. So it's been pretty cool.
And what advice would you give to other companies out there that want to develop this kind of, great cohesive, team? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I think just being open to trying new things, like not getting stuck sometimes. Like it can be very easy to kind of get stuck in ruts, right? Where designing the same things, you're using the same plants, you're doing this and you're doing that. And there's a place for that for certain things and from a business side, but design is meant to be fluid and change, and being able to work collaboratively. Like I don't have all the answers by any means, and being able to have a design team to help support and come up with new things and see things from a different perspective is important. And I think if you can find a team and work with people, it's just going to help projects stand out that much more. It's just important to have.
Yeah. To piggyback off that and off the Knicks' fresh win, I think it's really important to build your bench. Like I
Yeah.
think, especially here at Lynch, I mentioned briefly that landscape construction. None of this was my background. Previous to the pandemic, my background was in hospitality, and I think one of the greatest benefits of Lynch as a company, there's always a chance to bring in someone new, right? Quentin and Priscilla, they're our president and vice president. Both of them are so open-minded and so forward thinking that it's never just, okay, we're looking for someone who's strictly these criteria, has this title, has X amount of experience. It's always like, okay, what kind of things can we use in conjunction with this skill set? And that's part of why I ended up here kind of on a whim. I had no interest in landscaping. I've never mowed a lawn, still have not mowed a lawn.
That's
But
okay. You don't have to.
yeah, right. And that's not what I do, and that's fine. But a big part of I think what makes Lynch so special is that they're always willing to be thinking outside the box, right? The very fact that you brought on somebody who has no background in construction or in landscape like myself, and we were able to kind of build out this bench of, let's call them unconventional players,
Yeah.
right? People with different backgrounds, different work experiences, but different life experiences really helps flush out what we can do here and eliminates the idea of, oh, we can't do that because that's not the way it's done.
Yeah.
We always are trying new things and we're always adapting and making ourselves a little more fluid in the industry. And I think that's another one of the things that makes us as a specific bench very, very interesting, very successful, and very open to what else is out there.
That's fantastic. Thank the comments that both of you have made have really, painted a great, picture of what it is like to work there. And yeah, sounds like we need to come and visit. I want to I want to meet the team and everything. It sounds like a great place to work. And yeah, so excited to have you guys on the podcast and talking about this unusual project that you fit so much in. So thanks for being on the podcast, and we'll have a write up of this, portfolio of this project in our next issue. So look forward to to getting that written up and over to you guys to see.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great. Thanks. Excited to
Thanks.
see it.
Thanks, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for joining us.